I'm watching Charles Barkley and Shaq. I told you I kept waiting for some athlete to stand up and say this whole systemic racism against black people is a BS meme. And aside from Herschel Walker, I still haven't seen it. Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal have said, you can't defund the police. That's a bold statement. Both Shaquille O'Neal and Charles Barkley have said, well, you can't defund the police. Well, duh. You want a cookie? I'll tell you what would be bold, Shaq and Charles Barkley, and anybody else who's listening. I know you guys listen to the show. Say not only is defunding the police asinine, not only do the percentage of blacks who want the police to remain the same or increase pretty much match the percentage of whites who want the same thing. What's bogus is this narrative that the police are killing blacks, the police are abusing blacks just because they're black. Say that. Say that. Don't just say, well, we shouldn't defund the police. How about attacking the very premise of all this nonsense in the first place? One more time, it's not true. Evidence is not there. And wouldn't you think it would be easy to prove this if in fact it were the case? Systemic racism, institutional racism, foundational racism, endemic racism. Prove it. Study over here doesn't prove it. Study over here doesn't prove it. Police public contact survey done every 3 years since the 60s doesn't prove it. Study done by Washington State doesn't prove it. Study done by the Harvard professor doesn't prove it. Study done and retracted by 2 researchers that looked at every shooting in 2015 and 2016 and then retracted it, not because they felt they got it wrong, but they felt it was being misused, meaning people like Elder and Heather McDonough were using his own research and he didn't like it. But I'm not contradicting any of my findings, though. We're just withdrawing it had already been peer-reviewed. Where's the data? More unarmed whites killed this year than unarmed blacks. Where are the stories? There aren't any stories because Jake Tapper couldn't give a rip. Van Jones couldn't give a rip. Don Lemon couldn't give a rip. It doesn't advance the narrative. How many of these Black Lives Matter people down there do you really think know, if you gave them a quiz, do they really know that the police kill more unarmed whites than unarmed blacks? Do you really think they know that? Do you think they know that, according to the CDC, the rate at which the police have killed blacks in the last 50, 60 years has declined 75%? Do you think they know that? Think they know that a cop is more likely to be killed by a black person than a cop is to kill an unarmed black person? You have any idea? Do you think they know that of the cops that are killed, blacks, while 13% of the population, commit 60% of the killings against cops? Do you think they know that? Do you think they know that a young black man is anywhere from 8 to 10 times more likely to be a victim of a homicide than a young white man? Do you think they know that? Do you think they know, if they were given a quiz, that the number one cause of preventable death for a young white man is accidents, like drownings, swimming pool accidents, river accidents, and the number one cause of death, I mean preventable or non-preventable, the number one cause of any kind of death of young black men? Homicide. You think they know that? Do you think they know that 95% of all cops never fire their firearm in the line of duty in their entire career? And that when you're looking at cops in small towns, you're talking about 98%? Do you think they know that? Do you think they know that in cities like Los Angeles, the racial composition of the LAPD reflects the racial composition of the city? Do you think they know that? Do you think they know that we've had back-to-back black police chiefs in LA, 1992 to 2002, including during the O.J. Simpson case? And that the chief did a full study during the trial and determined that nobody had planted any evidence, put out a study saying that, and nobody gave a rip. The ones that felt O.J. Simpson was an innocent man framed by the racist LAPD continued thinking that O.J. Simpson was an innocent man framed by the racist LAPD. It did not matter. I got a question for CNN and for Jake Tapper. I know he listens to the show. Jake Tapper, just a moment ago you said that there's, quote, no widespread evidence of voter fraud, close quote, to knock down Donald Trump's alleged conspiracy theory. Well, let me tell you something, Jake Tapper. There's no evidence, let alone widespread evidence, of anti-black police systemic racism. That does not stop people doing story after story after story. Blows my mind. You guys are amazing. Donald Trump is a liar. You're putting out this big, massive lie that America is a country of systemic racism. It's still going on. The police are out mowing down black people just because they're black. You're pushing that BS. But Donald Trump raises some legitimate concerns about mail-in balloting. Oh, my goodness. He's a conspiracy theorist. Just another one of Donald Trump's lies. What about the lie you're putting out that is making things worse, getting cops killed? By the way, that suspect who is accused of ambushing those two L.A. County Sheriff deputies, look at his Twitter feed. All this crap about Black Lives Matter. This guy clearly assumed that the police were mowing down black people just because they're black, bought in the narrative, doesn't know it's false. Why would he know it's false? People like Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal are afraid to say it, even though I'm sure they know it's false. Well, they can go as far as saying we won't defund the police, but they won't go any further than that. They got a brand to protect. Shaquille O'Neal even worked off-duty as a police officer a few times. He knows damn well what I'm talking about. Where are you guys? Where's your cashews? Own up, man up. I'm not saying don't say anything. I'm just saying when you shoot your mouth off, make sure you know what you're talking about. Especially you, LeBron James. What, 50 million followers? And you're telling them that the police are out mowing down black people just because they're black? How irresponsible is that? I'm Larry Elder.